This podcast is sponsored by CDO Group, the industry leader providing a full range of construction and project management services. CDO Group has managed thousands of projects in all 50 states. Their group of experts provides systems, processes, and procedures to make sure that your projects turn over on time and on budget every single time. With over 24 years of experience, CDO Group is the industry's leader in construction management and general contracting services. To find them, go to cdogroup.com. Hi, and welcome to the Future of Development podcast. My name's Anthony Amunategui, and I'm here to inspire people to find amazing careers in the construction development world. If you like our podcast, please make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really like our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Before we get started, can you just take a second and tell everybody who you are, what you guys do for the companies you work for?
Bob Witken. I'm the Chief Operation Officer for KCA Development, which is a third-party construction management for restaurant chains and retail.
Robert Whitmer, Chief Estimator at CDO Group.
Brian Garver, Vice President of Construction for CDO Group, General Contracting Arm.
Giddy up, it's fun. Thanks for joining me today. Yeah, as always, it's fun having my fellows in the podcast. This is a lot of fun, so let's get started. Welcome to the Future Development Podcast. I'm Anthony Amunategui, and today I am joined by three really great guests. I've got my boys in studio, and I don't get to do this often. These guys are always running 100 miles an hour, and today I get to have them in the studio, and we get to play a little bit and talk about our favorite business, construction. And why don't you take a second, introduce and welcome everybody. Welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, you guys are always going 100 miles an hour. When I'm trying to stop you to get on the podcast, it's tough, right? Because, you know, there's never a dull moment in our business. You know, from the time I got in it, you know, it's been one run. And I look back and, you know, I'm like, shit, I'm 53 years old. And I started this thing a week ago. I kind of feel the same way.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
There's never a good time.
Never. Right? Like you just get something. I know Brian and I were just we're cruising down a runway,
Yeah.
and we're having a great day today, and boom, all of a sudden someone walks in and drops a bomb on our lap, and
We lost a wing to the airplane.
yeah, one of our superintendents for a project we have starting in 2 weeks says, "Hey, I'm done. I'm done with the business.
I'm going a different direction.
I'm going a different direction, right?" And you're now looking at it going,
What?
And he's a great superintendent. Like,
Yeah.
we love this guy. He's a great guy. And you know, as we've gone through this pandemic, more than ever before, people and teams, it's tough to keep people around and keep everybody's head in the game, right? You kind of feel like that, like everybody's out of the game a little bit.
It's tough to say. I think there's so many options out there now, especially people with the option to work remote and go wherever.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it can be anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
They do the same thing at home without leaving.
Right.
So that is tough out there for us right now. I think that's a huge thing that's changing in our business for project managers, not superintendents. They need to be on site, and some of the admin people that work with us, they can work remote, but it makes it a little tougher not being able to see people. I need to see people.
It's tough, right? Everybody says to me, "Anthony, we got to go to this new remote working thing," and I'm like, I'm not used to having people not here. I want to be able to see them, and now I'm being told you have got to go to remote employees. That's the future. Everybody's going to do that.
Well, another thing too, it's so competitive out there right now. You think you get an employee that's happy, right?
Yeah.
And satisfied. And I think what I learned today, to be honest with you, is how we need to stay on top of our employees. How you doing? Have that more personal conversation versus all business day in and day out.
But I mean, sometimes I literally feel like I am on. Here, you say that, right? But
Yeah.
if you look at our benefit package as a company, it's never been better. I mean, we give them all the bells, all the whistles, all the toys, and sometimes I feel like I'm this. I'm always on guard because no matter what it is, it's never enough, right? And I don't know that it's all. And we bring in trainers, we bring in people. How do we make our employees better? I mean, come on, how many coaches have we brought in to make our leadership body support our teams better, make our employees' lives better, give them quality of life, and still you feel like, man, how did like this guy today? I mean, I'm
I'm shocked.
shocked, right?
When he come in and told me after Brian told me, I was like, Are you joking?
If you had a picture of me when we were eating lunch, that had to be the funniest face ever.
I can't believe it. But
well, here we are, and we need to course correct and move forward.
Well, I think that's the thing is you can't sit there and get all wound up about it. Same thing happens. Bob, you were going through development. On the other side, right, where you're cruising down a runway, having a great time with a brand. You're growing a brand. You're loving it. You're just getting the systems running.
Geared up to do 6 to 8 stores a year, and eventually 10 stores a year. And COVID hits, and we were building in cash flow. And next, without any restaurants open, there's no cash flow.
Right.
Out of the corporate office, 40 people out of 52 got laid off.
Yeah. It shakes you a little bit, right?
It does.
It takes you off.
It does.
But I think that one of the things that I've noticed is that when you and I were talking, it kind of forces you to stay on your, because I kind of feel like as I get older, I want to relax a little bit, right? And that's probably one of the things that I'm most bummed about. It's I can't have worked really, really hard, and then get to a place where I'm coasting, right? I don't feel like our American lifestyle or the world allows it, because it feels like just as I get cruising, all of a sudden the economy hits, the COVID hits, it changes the whole perspective again. And how many times throughout our career, Y2K, 9/11, right? Remember all the different, the inflation, all the things that slow down growth, and all of a sudden, we're in the development world, scavenging to do it. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with our business is that we're built, and all the things we're great at, we're flexible, we're movable, we're all that stuff. It's also the toughest part of the business, right? Because the ebb and tide of it, it's constantly changing.
The main thing is to be flexible. Yeah, that's the main thing.
Be able to adapt today.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can move on tomorrow. And I think that's something that's big in our industry that has happened over the years. It hasn't been as prevalent as it is now, because everything with the technology now is moving so fast that it causes everybody to move fast. So when something happens, we got to react right away. Whereas 20 years ago, we could think about it, regroup, find a new job, find a new project. But today, you don't have time.
Yeah.
We're already what's behind, and now we got to figure out how to stay ahead without stumbling, keeping our clients happy still.
Well, it's certainly faster than ever before. I mean, I've never had a schedule that was slow. It's not like, well, guys, here's my address, get it done and give me a call. It's always like, I needed it done. Hurry. And then, we have a problem because the city can't perform or something can't perform. And we get all of our teams ready to go rock and roll, but then there's a permit delay. So the best part about what we are is we're flexible. So we say, all right, great, we'll hold. So now, but we're paying a super to sit there, and there's not a project for them to do.
Like on your job, though, Bob, one of the jobs we're working with you on is we're going to be able to go vertical with the building, but we can't do the site work because there's not a permit for that.
Right. So we're waiting on the developer and the landlord to get all their site permits, which we already went through building permits, and all the building department's waiting to do is to release it on the civil plans. So we're dead in the water right now.
And it's that stuff that we can't see, right? We spend all day long on top of schedules, and we're calling our plumbers. And, the problem with our business to me is that we have forced everybody to lie. We bid the heck out of the project, right? We went out and said, all right, Brian, you could do it for $10. Robert, you can do it for $9. Bob says, no, I can beat you both. I can do it for $8. And now your margins are tight. You're tighter than ever. And you believe, look, as long as I can keep it tight, I keep it going. I can do this one. And then you get the project, you're awarded it, and stuff that you can't control stops it. And it's a new client, and you go, all right, great. Now I'm ready to roll. If I keep this tight, I can make it maybe a sliver of a margin on it. And then I'm in with the client. I can grow the relationship later on. But then all of a sudden, you got a permit dead in the water. Now your sliver gets a little tighter because your team's sitting there.
Or they turn around and say there's now a surcharge because of COVID.
That's right.
And you're like, well, we didn't project for that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it makes it even tighter.
And
Well,
the costs have gone up, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's been the toughest thing. Like I was talking to one of our clients today, and we got to move on those 2 projects right away. I said, well, send over an email so we can start sending out LOIs.
That's right.
They've never done that before, by the way. Never sent an email out like that. And they said, yeah, go for it. Contracts will follow. You have permission to start buying out yourselves. The problem is that you got these proposals, right? Hey, this is good for 15 days, or this is good for 30 days, or, and you're trying to juggle that with the client. And then, Anthony, to your point, we keep pushing back timelines because they can't get a permit.
That's why I say the big revolution is going to happen is when, as AI, and people laugh at me like, Anthony, you're always talking about AI in construction, but the problem is our business is so. There's not one of us. I mean, look at us. I've been around for a while. I'm exhausted. I have spun every plate on projects my entire life, and you're always spinning plates in this business. And if you don't stop spinning, you're right. All of a sudden, you get to knock on the door.
Yep.
Hey, we're done building, or hey, I got a permit stuck, or hey, you lost that bid. You're always spinning to stay on edge, which in some spots makes you healthy, but also there's a cost to us all.
Yeah.
Right. It wears us out. We lose great guys like today who guys like, I'm leaving the business. I'm going to go somewhere else, and I don't want to.
It has nothing to do with us.
Right.
I don't really has nothing to do with us. Loves us.
Yeah, the same thing with me. I took 3 months to train a project manager. He went home at Christmas time because what let him to work at home for Christmas time. He wasn't making phone calls. He wasn't doing what he's supposed to be doing, working from home. And he turned around and quit.
Yeah.
Did he find something else, or?
Yeah. And just like, okay, I just got a project manager trained.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's the worst too. You put a lot of time into that, and then they bail on you. It's tough.
And his last couple of weeks of work is crap, right? You know that they're checked out. They're already looking around. Once they start that, that you're not getting. There's landmines somewhere in that project. You're going to have to go eat up.
Yeah.
So now you spend more time. You get the landmine hunter out. You're looking for where's the bomb? There's a bomb buried here somewhere. You forgot to order something. We forgot to, and it's going to bite me. It took us.
And all the customers you have lined up for him to take over to some projects, they're now calling and they want you to do the projects.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay.
You're like, let me go open that garage door back here and bring these 2 guys out that I don't have to help.
Robert's always saying it's good. We got
to thaw them out.
Yeah. we got to be able to clone them somewhere, Robert.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
That's the hardest part about the business is that we've got to be flexible, and the parts that make us great at the business is that we're flexible. But then the same parts about it being flexible is also the worst part of the business, right? Because we lose great people. There other people. We lost we lost 3 HR people in a row just last year. Remember, we went through this. One kid got double his salary. We were like, how are you? We were paying him too much. Yeah. And then someone came in and doubled his salary and said, well, here, you double your salary, but you have to hire 5 people a month. Now, when you're looking at a company like that that's hiring, 60 people, in a year, doubling your salary is actually a small price to pay.
Right.
But, we're trying to make it sustainable. We're 25 years into this. This isn't a startup company. We've been around and staying sustainable. How do you pay somebody? That would essentially be 3 times we would have paid an HR person,
right,
2 years ago.
Right.
And bringing in 5 people a month, hiring 5 people a month, it must be a company that has high turnover.
No, I guess there was startup companies, and right now they're a new segment of the business where all of a sudden they've got some cash that's coming in from investors, and I still don't understand. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm not sure how that's sustainable.
Right.
Right. We're over here trying to build solid long-term relationships with our customers, and then you got these guys who come in and get billions of dollars on companies that haven't made a profit at all. Right. They're literally they haven't made a nickel to date, and they're getting, millions of dollars in investments. And I don't know how that becomes sustainable long term.
It's good lip service.
It feels like they're kicking the can down the street somewhere. Yeah. Somewhere they're going to have to pay the piper, and they're kicking the can. When we look back over this and the business itself, how do you feel like if you were joining today with all the stuff that you know now, right? And you got a new guy coming in, right? You got a young Padawan come into the business. What is it you're telling the young guy or the young person that's coming into business today that you wish you would have known when you walked in?
Don't believe everything people tell you.
Don't believe the.
Yeah, I was going to say naive.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Don't. Yeah.
Because when I came into the business way back when, I grew up in a small town where most of the people say they're going to do something, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I was naive about that, right? And then you kind of move into bigger areas and bigger companies you're dealing with and stuff like that, and people just love to give you lip service and blow you off. Well, it wasn't as bad back then as it is now. Now it's like you have to double, triple check, quadruple check, because usually half the time they don't show up, or they don't follow up, or they don't say, hey, I'm going to bring 10 guys. They bring 5 guys.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Or 2.
Or or 2.
Or
right?
2.
So,
and you're like, where's everyone else?
And so my biggest thing to somebody coming into the business now is do not believe 90% of what you hear.
Right.
Unfortunately.
And then verify it. You have to go back and verify it. It reminds me years ago when you sent me out to Gettysburg.
Your battle at Gettysburg. That's right.
They were so far behind there.
Yeah.
He called me up and said, did you spend the weekend there just counting heads, make sure?
Yeah.
Because we put the GC on notice.
Yeah.
And they said they had to have so many manpower there. Showed up in the morning, count heads. Showed up there at noon, count heads.
Yeah.
Well, that was a problem. Remember, that was one of the guys where we had a national general contractor, right? Like we are, who went out to bid, and his one sub covered 3 different tech. Had the HVAC, had the plumbing, had the electrical, and had our major mechanicals under one subcontract. And he failed, right? That guy failed, and he was struggling, right? Because essentially what he did is he went out and bid it himself, and thought he could make the margin on it, and he failed. Then his relationships with them failed, and we didn't have control at that level because we only had a contract with the general. We didn't have it with the sub, and now all of a sudden we're over there in a town we're not used to, with it's already got thin pool to pull from, and you're out on the field trying to make it happen. Which I really do believe that's why the business is ripe for a change. Is in that it has constantly been in this state of where we're BSing each other. And when I say that sounds kind of harsh, but in order to win a job, we've had to push a number so far to get it. There's no clients out there go, well, just give me whatever you think the best number is. They want to compete against. They want something for what they think is less by bidding out to multiple people. They think they're getting a number cheaper, but at the end, this kind of stuff happens. We with subcontractors that we don't know. The only guy that could get the number to where they needed to be to win it isn't vetted out, and now we're stuck with some bad support. We go through that all the time.
Yeah, I've seen that more often in the last year than before. Is subcontractors subbing it out to somebody else,
right?
And you don't know that until they show up, and they might be wearing a different shirt or something. The superintendent start asking questions, and they tell them, oh yeah, I work for whatever plumbing company, not the original plumbing company you hired. That is the biggest.
And those people that don't work for a plumbing company, their floaters aren't the best in the trade.
Well, even if they are the best, when they don't get paid, they don't want to perform.
Yep.
All right. So sometimes they're not good. Sometimes they are good. But I think it gets down to when these companies sub it out, they're so busy, and then they're strapped for cash that as soon as something
they're not getting paid. Yeah, they're not paying their sub, which affects your job.
And then you got to step in, and then we have to step in and help finance that to get our project done on time. and then deal with that at the end of the project or during the project to make it happen. That is something that happens today that 20, 30 years ago
Not at all.
wasn't that way.
No, not at all.
And I totally appreciate when either a GC or a general contract or a subcontractor comes up and says, "Man, I really want to do this project, but I'm already loaded.
Yeah.
Would you give me a chance next time?" Well, sure, I'll give you a notice next time.
Yes.
I'd rather pass on you this time and give you another chance next time, because if not, you would put me in a bind on this project.
You're going to put me in a spot where you're like, I'm now stuck. I'd rather keep a relationship with you forever and be honest with you. In fact, we say that all the time. I'd rather tell you something today that you may not like, but later on you're going to hate me if I don't tell you that today.
I've always been that way with subs. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what the truth is. So if I need you there Tuesday and I'm asking you in plenty of time to get you there on Tuesday, don't tell me you're going to be there when you're not. If you're not going to be there and say, I'm not going to be there till Thursday, and you know you can't be there till Thursday, tell me that. I would rather figure out how to still get everything done in the time frame that I need to get it done than on Tuesday morning try and call you and not get you to answer. Now I've got to call Brian and Bob and Anthony and everybody else and back them off when we already had a plan.
But you might push off another sub so that sub can do his work.
Right.
And then if you knew they weren't going to come, you can keep that other sub on and keep your schedule going.
Yeah, because that gets back to what Andy said. I'm not going to like that you're not getting there when I want you, but I can respect that and I can figure out how to make that so it doesn't affect my job.
Well, and Robert, with the millions and millions of dollars worth of estimating that you do, you're the head of of the estimating team, and you guys do millions of dollars, 15 million plus a week in bids. You're always, I think you would agree. Your guys spend more time going through and vetting subcontractors than just the numbers we get in are great. You used to be able to look at a number and go, great, okay, I got this number, make sure they were missing a couple of things. Now you're spending as much time checking the qualifications of the company itself, right? And then figuring out the people on the team. When the guy says, or the subcontractor says, I've got 5 people, who are the 5 people? I need to see them. I need to see them. Don't just tell me that. Which I always laugh because, again, you and I have had this conversation 100 times. AI will be able to figure that out. When ABC Plumbing says, I've got 5 people, you're going to be able to go, no, you don't. I can see right here, you only get 4 on your staff. And by the way, 3 of those people aren't qualified. They're helpers, not plumbers. And that whole process changes again. So how do you get how do your guys get those great subs that we have?
It's getting on the phone and having a conversation with them. It's not through an email. All right. Now the email is how we get them to bid with us. Yeah. And once we get them to bid with us, somewhere in there, you have to have that conversation. You have to have that one-on-one. And then especially when you're vetting their proposal, that's where you really fill them out to find out if they're a legitimate company when you're trying to vet them out. I think if you get somebody that answers right away, answers their phone, calls you back, those are good guys. Guys that don't answer their phone, take a day to get back to you, those are guys we don't necessarily want to deal with out there, because that's indicative of what we're going to deal with on the job site. That's right. With them.
If they're tough to get a hold of during the estimate, you're never get a hold of them when you have a problem.
Right.
Yeah, and you're begging them to give you a bid.
Yeah, if you're begging someone for a bid.
Well, they're all good salesmen why they're wanting to bid with you.
Yeah.
All right, but after they bid with you, then when you have to deal with them, Brian, then they're like, well, you're not my only customer. Well, you weren't right. Well, and they have an excuse instead of coming up with a solution. So, or not getting the same guys back on a job. I know one of our guys there, they said, I don't know how that company made any money. Every time they come out, they had a different guy coming out to do the work. And I'm like, how would they know where the last guy left off?
Left off. And I think that's something that to talk about. Once it gets from estimating, and they've done that vetting part of it, right? You've got a pretty good handle on this, at least a good brand. Now your guys get an operation and start to look at the number and start to look at the team. There's that next line of vetting that happens, right? Where the superintendent starts to talk to them, right? You start looking at the schedule and talking about, really start to paint that picture from what the expectations are. Hey, I'm going to need 5 guys starting here. I need 1 guy to, as an electrician, I need 1 person to come safe the project here. Another team to start putting my rough-in boxes here, and I'm going to need to have this many people. I think knowing that far enough in advance and being clear about our scope. I think a lot of this business, people are mad at each other because they don't set up the project in advance. They show up in this cowboy type mentality. They get to the job site, now they figure out what they want, and it's too late by the time you're there, right? If I don't know weeks ahead of time where I need a sub somewhere, I'm going to be in trouble. But the problem is we're always up against cities and these outside influences. So what do we do to mitigate that?
That goes back to is the subcontractor starts off with honesty. The project, as it gets changed over, from estimating to operations, the project manager then takes it to the next level and has those same conversations. How many guys, here's my construction schedule. This is what we're trying to do. You have any issues with this? We're going to have some overlaps with these subs, and you have conversations with these different subcontractors. And the thing is they'll tell you, yeah, I'll have enough guys. Don't worry about it. I have 20 guys on the payroll, all that good stuff. But as we know, as it comes down to execution, is then you get, well, I have too much stuff going on. This last project we did in Grimes, Iowa is a perfect example that the team did a very good job of going 4 weeks out from schedule. 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week.
And
and then the day that that particular sub is supposed to show up, guess what? They don't show up. I'm still tied up on this other job. Well, heck, I just talked to you last week, and then
week before and the week before and the week before.
It's and I could see what's going on, and I copied on some of these emails even too. That's the biggest thing, is following up a conversation with an email, so you don't have somebody coming back and say, I never said that.
Yeah, right.
Well, what I think they're not used to is we come up with a schedule that we know will work.
Right.
And it will work every time, and we try to train them that this is the gospel, but they're so used to somebody else telling them the same thing and not having it happen. And so they assume we're no different than the next guy.
But that goes back into, though, making sure you have the buy-in for the schedule with the superintendent and the subcontractors, because they're out there living it every day. So I always tell the PMs, you go, when you're building, like I used to, when I build a schedule, I'd call the subs and have conversations like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? Hey, the site guy, I might need 7 days I'm figuring 7 days to run this storm pipe, right, or whatever. And he might come back and say, well, we got this one structure. It's going to take me a day longer. Just give me 8 and I'll make sure.
Right, they'll tell you, I think it's 20 feet deep, and you're not thinking about that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So those are the type of conversations that we always need to be having. It's just everybody tries to mitigate that, right? Yeah. And it's a dishonesty that gets you.
It gets back to what I said. It gets back to what I said earlier, though, Brian, is if we're truthful with them and we get them to buy in and they believe us, that's what they need to do. It's because it gets back to, you can't call me at the last minute and expect me there tomorrow, because I can't go open that door up back there.
They're exactly
grab 2 guys out of there to come to you tomorrow. All right. So it gets back to, I believe most people don't operate that way. They're so used to everybody operating behind that they don't ever believe that anybody's on time.
That's true. But at the same time, hey, send them photos. Right, be part of and that's what we're moving into.
Well, technology. Not today. You're right. You can Zoom somebody walk around.
They're part of the daily reports. This is what's going on. Your stuff's ready,
so they can trust that. Hey, I really, because you're right. How many times does someone say, you've heard a sub say, that guy said he was going to be ready on Tuesday, but they weren't ready until Thursday, and now that pushed my schedule on your project, and the last project they were on affected our current project, right? Yeah. And in fact, that probably
happens a lot. Yeah.
Most of the problem we have is that they couldn't get out of the other project. The other subs on that project couldn't get their work done, so they couldn't get their work done. So it had this domino effect throughout the business, and I think that's not uncommon, right? I mean, it's not an uncommon thing to happen on it, and most of the people don't realize on their last job they never take in consideration the 500 20-minute jobs that need to get done on a project, right? And they overestimate when they think they're going to be done on something. Like, I'll be done on Tuesday, and then they get there and they realize, oh shoot, I forgot to caulk in the toilets, or oh shoot, I forgot to.
Or that's what they tell their boss. I've only got this, and then they go out there, And then her boss says, hey, I thought you was going to be done. I got you planned for some place tomorrow. And then you're like, well, but I got this, and this to do. Well, you told me you were done, though.
Yeah.
All right. And that happens a lot. I always like it when somebody says, well, I'm done, except what?
Yeah, all right. Yeah. I need to see that. That clear communication that really forces me to see. Look. I want the good, the bad, the ugly. I don't need you. Look, I'm a big boy. I've done this plenty long time in my career. I do not need you to blow smoke up like a tuchus. I need to know the truth. Like, here, tell me, if you got to go back and hang something or do something, I just need to know so that I can manage the rest of the folks and not let them down.
Yeah. And with our jobs, though, now I would think that most people should just say, "Yeah, I've looked at your camera. Right. You are on schedule."
Right.
Because we have cameras. They can look at our job sites 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on any job, interior, exterior. We've got cameras, so they can get access to that and look at that to know we're telling the truth.
Well, let's talk about cameras, because this is something that, this is my big pet peeve, right? Having job site cameras. We started this 20 years ago.
Yep.
And the first cameras, every day they would cut the line. My first one was a camera that was a internet connection. My first project I put them on was in New York, in Manhattan, a union job, and every single day they would cut the cable. And the superintendent, it was in his contract, he had to keep it up. So every day he had to go rewire the camera.
Run down the Radio Shack.
and it had to go there. There was more splices. There was a phone line. There was a really long phone line that went to to the fax line. It was we pinned it off the fax. That's how far back it goes. We had a fax machine, right? So we pulled it off the fax line, and it ran to this little phone, the camera that would send a picture. It would dial and send a picture every a few times a minute, and you get this kind of snapshot of the job site.
That's like the Ox Blue camera. That's what that does.
Yeah. You kind of get them every few seconds. But today we've got more communication stuff on a job site where people can see it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right, where you can really you're interacted, you're live.
Mm-hmm.
As an owner's rep, you're seeing this. You're now, you can, when someone says I've got ductwork going up, you can look and go, yeah, there's ductwork, or you're going to do a pay application, or there's an architectural problem. You and the architect can jump on the camera and look at the job site a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Bob, what are the other GCs using for cameras? Do you know?
I don't exactly know.
I'm just curious.
The one that we have going on in Naples right now, they have a camera. It's not a main brand.
We're doing an Ox Blue, I believe, on yours. Plus, we're doing our normal camera, which is Arlo's.
Yeah.
So we'll have two different types on your project. But any camera is great.
Yeah. So one of my projects, we're putting up panelized just buildings. We want to see how quick these panelized buildings would go up. And as soon as we put the camera up, the superintendent says, "Oh shoot, they're putting a camera up to watch me." Well, that was the whole idea about it. It was to watch the panelized building go up.
Well, some of the stuff is, so some of that is the feeling, right? And, and by the way, we have had superintendents who don't want to show you everything, right? Just as much as we say we have supers who think we don't know they leave at 2:00. We know that they came in at 5 and they left at 2:00. And we've looked at our job site cameras for projects across this country, and we'll go, oh my God, look, we're asses and elbows all morning long. It comes at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a ghost town there, and they feel guilty about it. I think there's a little bit of sense of guilt. Now during COVID, we did something that was unique. We told teams that they could come in at different times. Right, we were able to communicate with them different. We had some teams that came in at 3 o'clock in the morning, which was kind of cool. And then we had, we were doing a big $11 million gas station out in Oswego, and because of COVID rules, we couldn't have that many people on a job site. We worked right through that pandemic, and we had some teams come in really, really early, and there were some of the older guys like, well, I don't sleep. I'll go in there early and get this done. And some of the young kids were like, hey, I played video games all night, or I was out hunting girls all night, and I'm going to come in a little bit later. And they came in a little later, and we were like, great. And then we could spread.
Or these companies work the weekend, and that's 2 days during the week, because they didn't want to be there with other people. and nobody was in their way.
We had a lot of that.
Yeah.
And the people weren't in their way, or and just like Andy said, or they'd work second shift instead of first, and nobody else was there, and they had the site to themselves inside the building themselves, and that's fine today in construction. We do that all the time.
I think that's the key to where technology is the leverage, right? Because it used to be, if we all didn't get here at 6 o'clock in the morning, inevitably drywall would be right where I wanted to work. I'm going to put electrical on this wall. There'd be a pile of drywall there, and you're like, I can't get to my wall, and the guy that needed to move it wasn't there. So there was always this kind of fight. But today, with the software that we use, the way we look at a job site, the way that we look at it, we're so much more intelligent about that, and we can communicate something. Hey, look, I need you, the west wall needs to be done, and here's why. If you don't put that wall up here, the brickie can't get the brick on here, and the electrical company won't come and pull our meter until that happens. We can show that in a linear way, and that's the difference between the 6-gun cowboy showing up, right? The guy showing up with the 6 shooters going, right? And now looking at it from a real 4-week out, 3-week out. 2-week out. People said that we'd write these schedules and be given jobs. How many people have you worked with that have these schedules that were made once during a bid? They submitted a schedule in the bid,
Right.
And you get about 2 weeks into it, and you might as well put it in a porta potty.
Yep.
Well, you know what the schedules though today is? Everybody thinks they have to start at 7 o'clock, but some of these renovation jobs that we do, if they would listen to us and we say, do not have your electrician there till 10, and this is why. Now, they can still get their 8 hours in, but they get there at 7, but for 2.5 hours, they're standing around. We can prove this on the camera because they really do not get going. So we can help you as a contractor get your guys' inefficiencies out of there to make you more efficient, to make you more money. Then again, maybe the guys only need to be there 5 hours after they start at 10. We just saved you money because the guy was going to charge you 8 hours anyway.
I think that's more than ever before. I think it works both ways. Our superintendent's looking at schedules and going, we had a big long speech with the guys that were doing that Atlanta project. Because I get down to Atlanta, it had 2 days of rainstorms and solid rain for 2 days. And I get down there on the following day in the morning. I went there that night and I got to the job site in the morning. And I get there and there's 5 or 6 landscaping guys standing there. And I said to our super, I said, whoa. Why are we not talking to their boss last night? We know the site's too wet to do anything. It's Georgia clay. We're not, it might as well be working in quicksand down here. You walk 10 feet in it and you got snowshoes on your, the amount of mud you get on there. And these guys are standing around. I said, send them back to their boss so they can do something else. You're not doing them a favor. Then when you need that guy to come out there, the boss is like, hey, look, I've already spent my hours on that project. My margins again are too skinny. Making sure that we're supporting our subs and the owners of those companies, because all of a sudden a guy gets on a job site, he's like, it was raining.
Well, the workers are not always going to pass on what's happening out there. They've been sent there.
They've been sent there.
I'm doing my job. I'm going to wait for it to dry out a couple hours, and then I'm going to go. They'll
milk those hours.
Yeah. It's because they're doing what they're told. They were told to go there. They don't. Maybe one of them has got enough gumption to call the boss up and say, hey, it's too wet here. Can we go over here to such and such, and then we'll come back here this afternoon, knowing that they got another job they can go to that maybe has sod on the ground already and they don't have to walk through mud. But that is a big thing. We need to stay ahead of that like we're trying to do now and get people to buy into our schedules.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not looking at it holistically, it says, look, if our subs don't walk out of there making a profit, we've not done the right. Look, as much as our clients need great stores, the relationships we've got to have it's got to be holistically all the way through, right? If our subcontractors aren't benefiting by working for us, then something in our system's wrong, right? If we're out there robbing subcontractors or beating them up, that behavior doesn't last. So you won't go back to that market and have those people. Why we have relationships in markets that we, people over and over, use them over and over again, is because we don't go through that process. And you can't today. I don't believe the amount of work that the subcontractor world has, we can't beat up subs. They've got to walk out.
They'll just walk anyway.
Yeah.
There's so much work right now. It's hard to, typically in the past, you buy them down a little bit, maybe 2 or 3% here or there. They're like, well, I got plenty of work. I don't need this job.
Yeah, you're lucky they're not coming to you saying, I need 2 or 3% more.
And now, to be honest with you, and we started off this conversation with that is, we're asking, hey, don't raise your price. We're starting in 2 months. We're going to lock you in now, whatever we got to do. Instead of beating them down, we're saying, can you hold your price, please? And we'll contract you, and this is where we're going to be at.
But yeah, and I think the other thing we try to do is when we talk with somebody, let them know that hey, you are high here, but you're low over here. And sometimes in their mind they say, well, what's that matter? Then it equals out. Well, on paper, yeah, you're right, but I do need you to get down to this number over here. But I'm telling you, take another look at this piece over here. There's probably an opportunity for you to maybe raise that a little bit if you need to, because I don't want you to get hurt.
Right.
Or I want to package these two together. So your number's good here. You're a little high here. Take a look at this. Maybe this has got to go up. This has got to go down. But I want to package this to you, and you have to be that way with them nowadays.
Well, that's just as important as them having the high prices, is them having low prices, and they accept a job.
All right.
And then they're going to try to make up the price and change orders in any other way they can.
Yeah.
Which makes it very difficult through the project. So when I go back to review line items, I check every line item, and the ones that are low, are you sure you got everything in here?
Yep.
Yeah. We were talking the other day. We were looking at a project, and you're like, I know this level of project and the level of cleaning that needs to happen. Here's what the owner's going to expect. Here's what our chefs expect on these projects.
Exactly.
They want to walk in and it's food ready, not construction ready. Food ready. Now, food ready and construction ready are two little bit. It's a definite
180 degrees off of each other.
But if we walk in, the chef walks in and looking at you, going, "Look, I'm in the most," we're at the most tired part of our project, right? We're exhausted because we've been there for a few months working. It took us off, and now the chefs coming in, and they're the most stressed part of their project. They're starting up a new restaurant. They're getting ready to go. And if we don't set them up for success for that transition, there is going to be fireworks. And you went 99 yards kicking the can out of, really doing a great job out of this thing. And you get to that goal line, and
it could just be the cleanliness that will. That's all they'll remember.
That's it. They'll remember you guys were slobs,
slobs.
and left my job site a mess. And that's the stuff that why I think that it's more indicative of our business is that as long-termers, how do we keep our mindset in that healthy look? It's never going to get easier. I've got to be stronger, right? Because it's hard. I'm at as many thousands of projects that we've done over the years. I mean, thousands of them in all the states we've done them in. So you're like, am I going to get a break on? No, you're not going to get a break on one. It's not going to get easier. It's going to be like this. How do we maintain that? How do we stay? How do we keep our heads in the game and stay sane?
It's like the whole goal is on turnover day before operations gets there, you're fully done. You're hoping to be sitting there having a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
but for some reason, that has never happened.
No, you're walking around wiping something off. You got the guy over here caulking this corner over here. You got the guy adjusting this over here. You're like, where's this at?
Right.
You're changing the filters out on the HVAC unit. Yeah, no, those are things that happen. And what I think, here's what I see happening nowadays is you try to go in there a couple weeks before the job's done, and you point out things I point them out to Brian, who's the one of the contractors, and he says, we'll get that on the punch list. No, there's no punch list. Right. We're not waiting till then, but that's the mentality is, we'll catch it then. Well, no, let's catch it today. And I don't like the word punch list. I like to call it a deficiency. Work not completed. I don't know what the right term is.
The point is to have no punch list.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Where is that gone? So here, that was... the people I worked for when I started this would, one of my bosses stood on my desk. I left a little saucer cup. There was ramekins under a dishwasher leg. I didn't have the little twist leg for it. I left that, and I had one corner piece missing on the tile in a corner of a kitchen. It was like those little cigar pieces that go in the corner. I had 2 items missing. I'm like, look, it's just, we're gonna open. We're fine. And he came in and stood on my desk. No, we're not. Done means done. And, there was this level of expectation that But today, you try that behavior with somebody you work with today, and
I just went through that last weekend with a contractor where we had to on Saturday send a 24-hour notice because they didn't want to complete the job. They wanted to wait for a punch list.
Right.
No, I mean like a punch walkthrough, I should say. And the project manager has been working with this contractor, and they just wouldn't hear it. And I said, you know what? I'll deal with this. Sent that over, ruffled some feathers, but they were there on Sunday.
Yeah. I've had some of my guys before when I owned business, and they'd walk in, and I would look at things, and I would point out some deficiencies, and I'd say, hey, we need to get this taken care of. And then they'd say, well, why didn't you point out what's good? And I said, well, everything else on the job is good. Just those 3 items I talked about are the only things that are an issue. So sometimes I guess I would overlook saying, hey, I need to congratulate. Hey, Bob, you did a great job over here. Hey, but by the way, can we go over here and can we get this done? And we don't give the gratitude that we should for the hard work.
Or you schedule the punch walk, and you show up there, and the contractors are still working. And their whole thought is going, well, if I'm not done here, then they're going to write that stuff up, and they're not going to look over here and see this stuff over here that's wrong. And you're like, it makes it miserable when you're walking through that punch list and going, you're not even done.
No, there should be no workers in there.
Right, exactly.
No work going on.
But punch list means I have a C of O in my hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am there maybe with maybe I've got a little feather duster, just clean off the fine edges of it, right? Maybe if I saw a guy doing some touch up because the owner moved in and scratched something, I could maybe think about that, right? But that level of completion isn't there. Let's go back to a little bit about what you were talking about, having to get rough on a project or get rough on somebody, or when I mean rough, I mean being poignant at something. I often say that we have to be actors, right? My job is never to be one way. I have to have a full range of emotional.
Sure.
Right. Some people I may hug, right, and go, "Hey, great job, you're doing great," and keep on, and they react to that. And there's some that I have to be a little bit more stern with, right? Yeah. And like, hey, look, this is a 24-hour notice if you don't get your act together, and then they react to that. But I find that we have to be actors in this game as much, and sometimes we get people who want to be Mr. Nice Guy all the time, and and sometimes that works, right? So there's a majority of time that will work, but then sometimes I've got to be a little bit of a.
It all depends, I think, how your field team is managing that prior to you even get involved, like at my level or anything like that, right? Or your level, because a lot of times it's okay. The superintendent might be a jerk or been riding this sub very hard. And then when you talk to him, you can't just pile on. You gotta listen to him, let him vent a little bit, then have a intelligent conversation of why we need to do what we need to do. And I'll be like, I'll take care of that. This is how I'm going to do it. And you go through that, and then it might upset the superintendent. Well, how the heck, did you guys?
Well, that's that finesse. That's that little finesse piece that you have to have. That's experience.
Like having your construction project manager saying that, hey, I'm having problems with this.
Right.
And, this guy is not listening to me, he's not doing anything. Well, good cop, bad cop.
Yep, exactly.
Let him be the bad cop, and I come in there and go, hey, how can I help you?
Right.
Exactly. It's wordsmithing it on how we can get them to do what we want.
Yes.
Well, I got to tell you, I love having this conversation with you guys. And by the way, thanks for stopping your day to come in here.
We don't have anything going on.
No. But I'll probably wake up at 12:30 tonight wondering what I missed today.
In the back of my mind, I know I got 20 phone calls I need to make right now.
I got you. I'm so grateful. Listen, Brian, I'm grateful, and Robert, I'm grateful, and Bob. Listen, thank you guys for coming on this. This is my first shot at doing one with you guys live in the audience and in the building. So thanks for joining us today, and I really am grateful to catch up with you. Hey, if you want to get a hold of you, what's the best place to get a hold of you?
Get a hold of me?
Yeah, if I want to get a hold of you, where's the best email?
Yeah, email would be the best.
All right, so Brian at
cdogroup.com.
And Robert?
Same thing, email, robertw@cdogroup.com.
Awesome. Bob?
It would be bob at kca-dev.com. robotic.com.
Great. Thanks, guys. And as always, we love this business. If you love this business as much as we do, please hit the bell down below. Subscribe right now. Because, look, the only way we can keep doing this is if you guys subscribe to this, and it keeps the fun going. And if you got some fun guests you want to have on the show, or you're here in the Chicagoland area, come in and join us. We'd be excited to have you. So thanks a lot for joining us today. Thanks for joining us. My name is Anthony Amunategui, always looking for people to bring insight into the industry, finding ways to inspire people to have amazing careers in the development world. If you liked our podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really liked our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Thanks again for listening. Please share it with your friends.